Good afternoon and welcome to Medellin and the InterBolsa weekly rundown for July the 10th. The cold cap, the equity market, has just been drifting the whole week, pretty much in line with global sentiment, and no real comment to add to that. The peso has been trading on, around, above, wherever you call it, 2,100 the whole week, and that's basically where it closed. Again, no real catalyst for that to move in either direction. The test market has been extremely quiet. The total volatility was 10 basis points on the 2020 the whole week, and we end up unchanged at 9.07 on the 2020. Another couple of comments there. Today we had the maturity of a $3 billion bond, but it looks like all the local investors already made their bets and their calls, and look, we've seen buying in the 2010, 2011 paper, so no real activity today. The other thing was a press report that the government's looking at a 30-year test bond, which will obviously be a lot longer maturity than we currently have. At this point, traders are putting that down to rumour, and there's no real fact to go behind that. On the macro side, obviously the big news was last weekend, which was the CPI data for June, which came in at minus 0.06, which is pretty much what we were expecting. Obviously a good number. And then the PPI number, which was negative 0.86%, again as a leading indicator, everything looks pretty much under control on the inflation side, and very much justifies the central bank's recent move to 4.5% from 5%. The other macro news, we had construction data out for June, which was negative again. And for the first 6 months, we've seen construction prices rise just 0.18%, which shows that things are very much under control. The only real increases we've seen are in labour prices and some of the cement prices, but everything else, generally the commodity prices, have all fallen, metals, etc. The final macro point, we got unexpectedly the May export data today, down 19% year on year, actually a little bit better than the April figure, but the surprising thing is it was only 1 week ago we had the April data. We've had no explanation why it's come out so early. Moving on to politics, actually very little going on. Uribe's given Piedad Córdoba, the slightly controversial senator who's fairly close to Chavez, he's given her the green light to try and approach the FARC in conjunction with the Red Cross and the church to see if they can get some kind of mass release of hostages. I can only really see it going so far because the FARC really don't want to talk to Uribe. They will probably condition it, looking for a release of prisoners held here or maybe overseas, and that will probably be the end of the conversation, to be frank. Zuluaga, the finance minister, is going to propose to Congress next week a wealth tax, a one-off wealth tax, which will help the military here. The money is around $1 billion. We've seen this kind of thing before, and yeah, it's only the very wealthy who will be paying for it. Finally, foreign direct income we've seen 3.8 billion was the total for the first half of the year, pretty much what we expected. And once you add in Isahen for later in the year, which could raise $1.5–2 billion, we should be not far off last year's figure of $10 billion. Adding to that today, we had Philip Morris, who purchased Pro Tobacco here for $452 million. So again, that's another little piece to go into the pot. Moving on to stock news. We had the news today that Ecopetrol will look to, well, the idea is to raise international bonds for the first time. They'll be starting a roadshow shortly. The size of the issue is unclear, but they've already stated they want to raise $4 billion this year. They've already taken $1 billion in a syndicated loan locally. So I guess you could say up to $3 billion. Well, that seems a very large amount. Surely some of the bond issue will come locally. Otherwise, for Ecopetrol, they've got a bunch of workers complaining. They want 22% wage increase. Negotiations will start next week with that. And then finally, there was a rumour yesterday they were going to buy Terpel, the local filling station company, for $1.5 billion. They've completely dismissed that idea. But one needs to be crystal clear here that Ecopetrol have said they will look to go downstream at some point during the strategic plan. So at some stage they will be moving in the filling station area, but not right now. Bank Colombia, a couple of points this week. The shareholders approved a potentially $600 million preference share issue. Remember, the preference shares are the ones that convert into the ADRs. They've approved it. It seems a fairly large issue. They say it's to basically increase capital, make the most of possible business opportunities here. There's no, obviously there's a lot of speculation. They've been looking around to buy other banks overseas, maybe in Central America, Peru, all sorts of rumours, but nothing concrete on that so far. The other issue is they finally, yesterday they sold $500 billion pesos in local bonds. That completes the 1.5 trillion pesos in shelf offering they had. Again, it was 2 times oversubscribed. So as with all the corporate bond issues we've seen this year, easily sold. Finally, in ETB have now put down they've officially started looking for a strategic partner. They've stipulated guidelines and they will be underway looking for a partner. Now, Any partner is going to have to go into competition against Telefonica and Telmex, who are obviously the two monsters in the Spanish-speaking world. So it's going to be a brave partner who comes in, and there's no timeline on that. Finally, at InterBolsa generally, we reduced our country risk this week from 7.56% to 6.5%, which meant we increased 21 out of 22 price targets we have in our stock universe. If you look at the messenger, which is the weekly messenger, you'll find all the details on that. The only stock that didn't go up in price was Fabricato, but that was due to separate issues with Venezuela. It's worth noting we've moved to 6.5% on risk, but a lot of the rest of the world is at 5%. So even though we've moved our price targets up a considerable amount, there's probably potential for more as and when things improve, both on a global basis and here in Colombia. That's the final piece of news. Colombia, in the latest survey of who's happy in the world, Colombians came in at 6th, which is down from 3rd, so we're not as happy as we were, but generally, Colombians are happy, they see the way things are going, they live life how they see it, which is great to hear. And on that note, I will bid everyone a very good weekend from Medellin.